Hi, Greg Maciolek of Integrated Management Resources in another of our series talking about hiring smarter. So today we're going to talk about interviewing. So have you ever hired somebody who you thought was going to do the greatest job in the world and they just didn't do it at all? Or have you hired somebody who you thought would be okay, but they knocked your socks off? So here's my question to you. What was the difference between hiring someone who knocked your socks off and somebody who barely got through the door, couldn't even find the cafeteria with both hands? Huh? Were you just lucky? Maybe so. And what we want to do is take luck out of the equation. So let's talk about the selection process. You put out an ad, you put it on Monster, Career, wherever you put it, and you get resumes back, right? And you start shuffling through resumes. Now look, if you believe resumes, I've got a bridge near some water I've been trying to sell for several years. Let's face it, resumes are enhanced. And remember we talked too about the cognitive match being 3 times as predictive for success on the job than his past employment. So even though we look at the employment record, it could be that they have 10 years of experience or they have 1 year 10 times. And then comes the interview, right? This is where we try to figure out who this person is. And oftentimes it's not so easy, right? So we get this gut feeling, and studies show that in the first 5 minutes, inexperienced interviewers make up their mind. First 5 minutes. That's pretty gutsy, isn't it? So let's talk about what are you looking for in an interview. You're looking for a people person. You're looking for a self-starter who's motivated, right, has a high energy, is honest, ethical, and is reliable and trustworthy, right? Has a lot of energy. Yeah, but you know what? How do you know that is really who that person is? There's a guy named Egon Brunswick. He was an Austrian psychologist who talked about this lens we have in which we look at people. And this lens has been formed ever since we've been a little kid. How our parents talked about people, how our grandparents and aunts and uncles. You know, if you were in a management house, how did they talk about those hourly workers? Or if you were in a union or hourly house, how did they talk about those management people? And on and on and on. So we have this lens at which we look at people that oftentimes is distorted. So in an interview, a lot of people put a lot of stock in a strong handshake, and they're obviously appropriately groomed. They have good eye contact. They have positive body language. They smile a lot. Well, let's face it, people are trained to make the interviewer like them. And then also they were punctual. They got there 20 minutes early, and we say, wow, what a great person. The problem is that may have been the first time that person's ever been on time in their life. So you just can't put a lot of stock into whether someone was punctual or not, and whether someone has a lot of energy in the interview. Because in an interview, you see about 10 to 15% of the person. And what shows up for work is the rest of the person. Now here's my analogy about hiring and interviewing. You've got recruiting and interviewing, hiring and firing is very much like dating, courting, marriage, and divorce, right? The interview is the courting phase. So when a guy's courting his future bride, he's nice to her mother, he buys her flowers, holds the door open for her, doesn't burp at the table. And what does she say? Hey, not perfect, but when I marry him, I'm going to change him. And what happens? 6 months after they're married, she wakes up and says, who's this masked man? The last time he bought me flowers was our wedding day. See my mother? Ha! Can't find the hamper with both hands. And not only does he burp at the table, he makes all kind of other weird sounds. So let's face it, trying to really determine who somebody is in an interview without some objective data, I think is very difficult. So think about this. When you want to focus your interview, I believe you need some objective data, and you can get that from a good, validated, reliable instrument. That's what I've got for today. I'm Greg Maciolek of Integrated Management Resources. I'll see you next time.